All right, let's go ahead and get started here. Let's start with Gunhead. Oh yeah, I did get actually a off stream. I did get a defend the innards mission. I didn't do water thieves in a while. I feel like it's just like sometimes random after you do water thieves once or twice. But that's done now. Once again, still just incredibly easy to, you know, clear out. Alright, Frozen Swamp. Hey Josh, how's it going? And what else? We can do Water Wars again. Hey Alex. Let's go ahead and bring you over. What gun do we want? Probably something silenced. Which ammo do I have? 7.62 is fine, 554R is plenty, 54R is a lot. So much, 12.7 I can't use, or I could use, but I don't want to. Yeah, we can go over to, I think, the AK. Just the stock AK. Also, before I forget to, let me go ahead and turn this off. And 545. And we are Gunhead, so we don't need meds. Frozen Swamp, Railroad, and we are good. I haven't seen Night Shift Frozen Swamp in a while. I wonder if we're gonna get that today. Sometimes though we get these streams right where we can't get a night shift at all. Yes, today. What quest did I have again? Hold on here. Water Wars, train schedule, and then Water Thieves. Okay, yeah. Let's go deal with the Water Thieves first, because we're probably there's a good chance we die, right? Like, this map does whittle you down quite a bit. Alright, so we can probably farm Water Thieves here if we wanted to. I think I'm gonna still head over to the site though. Their little shanty town. Let's keep moving. Man, I really wish there was more ways between the pipes up there. Such a cool concept, the verticality. Like, it'd be really cool if we could, like, take this path up here, all the way over to Shantytown. It kind of feels like the water scavs would almost want that, right? As a means of moving about the map. Alright, let's let them pass. And continue on. No Water Thieves here either. Ah yes, the folded staircase. I wonder if, like, all of these extra shanties are for show, or did they ever expand, like, plan on maybe expanding to them too? It'd be kind of cool to have a much more expansive shantytown. You know, it'd be kind of interesting too, right? I wonder if the water thieves actually have any kind of civilians, if you will, like people who are unarmed. I know they talked about caravans before, but it'd be interesting to see like actually like unarmed or like mostly unarmed NPCs on the map. There's one. I'll take this. Alright, there's probably like Knight or Ted. Throwing water thief factory up here. And we're good. Probably need about like 5 or 6 more. Just to be safe. Grab some water. I mean, I guess these count as civilians? I guess by definition these are civilians. That, granted, they're civilians in very bad shape. Is this desk new? I don't remember this desk being here in older versions. Huh. That definitely feels new. I felt like there was like a wall here along with shit on it, so I guess this definitely feels new. They're actually furnishing the houses now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure like that room before had like stuff like this along it. Hey, Momentum, how's it going? Alright, if these are water thieves, they should count for us. Alright, that's good. Alright, that quest is now done. Time to go get to our train map. Weirdly enough, the guns are still not in a good spot for me right now, but with what we currently have, probably the Scar. Because it's like, I still want it to be updated aesthetically, but like, it's an interesting take on like a weapon currently in the past, but been updated for the future. Most of the guns right now are just like surplus guns for the most part, and they feel kind of boring because of that. But like, the Scar is one of the few guns they've actually touched up a bit in that regard, and like, you know, fitted it to their setting. So yeah, the Scar for right now. You won't see me use it all that much because of its unsilenced nature, but I do like it quite a bit. Alright, let's head up top. Yeah, a lot of the guns right now are mainly surplus guns, and kind of just like very just stock guns from the current times. And I think they're kind of boring because of that reason. They're also, the gunplay is not good right now either, but that's a different thing entirely. But from like a lore standpoint and like a doctrine standpoint and just so many different standpoints, the Scar is very interesting. It also make big boom. I don't like grenade launchers. I'm gonna head upstairs. You guys can have fun. I know for the lore of the map, they have the injector site, like, these are all, like, derelict injector sites, they're not active. But man, I would love it so much if one of these became active again. You just, like, hear the pounding into the earth. It'd be a really cool dynamic event for them to, like, have the injector site be active again. Maybe that causes flooding too. Oh man. I don't think we'll ever see this map flooded, but that would be, like, a really cool way of doing it. Alright, officer's dead, I'm happy. Let's get down. Let's go down. Back down, please. We are Gunhead with not a lot of health. We can't really pick fights up here. Ow, 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 ow. Hey, 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 hey. You're breaking the rules, you're not aggroed. You're all breaking the rules. I think it's not... I mean, we're almost assuredly going to, like, in a few pieces of lore, right, they do talk about, like, high energy weapons like that. So, yeah, it's pretty safe to say we'll see stuff like that. Now, if it's going to be equipable by us or just on, like, a giant mechs, different story entirely, right? But at the very least, we're definitely going to see, like, you know, energy weapons, at least on mechs or bigger units like that. For example, it's not exactly clean per se, it's not a clean cut, but the way the Titan is kind of cut over here and also on Ash and Mesa kind of doesn't point directly to this weapon, but it kind of feels that way. Because despite how vicious the cut is, and it's not exactly 100% clean, it is pretty clean, way cleaner than an explosion feels like it should be. So if we come over to here real quick, we'll kind of see that a little bit. Like, these damn vides. So if we head over to here, right, and look at the crawler here, it's kind of been cut. And naturally, this could just be explosions right across this way, but like it's much more likely this was almost cut in this way, right? And naturally, it feels like it'd be a lot cleaner if it was like actually a laser, but maybe it's like a dirty laser, right? Maybe it's like a laser that can't really maintain a perfectly tight beam and just entirely cut off the entire front section of the hangar here. Because despite the fact, like, it looks dirty, but like it is a fairly clean cut, all things considered. You wouldn't normally see that with like just explosions or, you know, impact shells and so on and so forth. There'd be holes, they wouldn't be a clean cut. Though I wouldn't be surprised if we see like maybe like very high-end or special weapons in that regard. They would. I guess it depends. Like you would see like scarring or melting at the very tips of like where they cut off. Yeah, for sure. And that's like that could be a reason why they wouldn't be a laser, right? But like there's whenever we look at stuff in game, right? It's always a bit hard because sometimes there's conflicting things going on. For example, the Titan's weapons, right? The Titan's weapons they look like they're gigantic. They look like they belong on a battleship or a dreadnought, right? But when you actually compare them to the size of like tanks, which we know the caliber of, they're like almost the same size. So it's always hard to like, yeah. We can theorize off what we see, but it's also really hard to like go to conclusions, mainly just because there's a lot of inconsistencies or just things that don't line up perfectly. I guess we can do Stairway. I don't think I played Stairway all of last stream either. And probably for good reason, but... Alright, characters. Like, almost like, for example, this map is so, like, hard to drop aggro on because there's so little space. I would almost never consider bringing a Scar to it, despite the Scar being cool as shit. That or any unsilenced gun, really. I think it's just gonna be the AK for now. It just... The map itself is just way too deadly and too linear to ever bother doing that. It's not even silent per se. Well, yeah. You just don't have anywhere to break aggro from. There's not a ton of cover on the staircase itself either. Since they've been like jacking up damage every patch essentially, we're basically now to the point, right, where if you want to fight a squad, you kind of have to have some cover. Otherwise, you're just kind of asking to get murdered. Let me up. No. No, you don't shoot at me like that. See, like, I think they don't understand, too, how cool it would be. Like, I wouldn't mind just almost endless rooms of... Not endless, but, like... If there was, like, entire, like, skyscrapers full of, like, this, I would be almost okay with that. As long as there's plenty of fighting going on, I feel like, inside, I'd be really okay with that. And it could be right. Hey Duffs, they don't want to add filler to maps just for filler's sake, which is perfectly fair, but I don't feel like it's filler at that point. It's just an area for interesting fights to take place in. It's not filler, it's just like a CQB battleground. Now these piles, I will say, like, tank FPS real hard. Hey Delta. Hey Daddy. It's going well, thanks. How are you? Not necessarily a dungeon, right? Like, I think they've already mentioned they don't really want to do that, which is perfectly fair. Or they don't want to do it in a procedural way, which is perfectly fair, but like just more of areas that are supposed to be just for like fighting sake or just like claustrophobic. It seems like a lot of their areas are trying to like... This is kind of how I read into it, right? Where it feels like if the area doesn't have a massive aesthetic consideration, they don't really think about adding it or including it, right? And naturally, this giant CQB area of like skyscraper space wouldn't really have a ton of aesthetic elements to it, so it's kind of like looked over. They flip. No, robots. Oh, I know, yeah. Yeah, J-Mods, I know that, like, kind of, basically the exploit, if you'd like. Oh, for sure. It's dangerous, too, but, like, it also creates, I think, Delta, some of the coolest, like, atmospheric gameplay. Like, I would say the UI doesn't do its service right now, but, like, seeing the cyborg's eyes in the darkness, seeing the muzzle flashes here and there, seeing flashlights off in the distance, looking around, like all of those things create like a really cool, gritty, like kind of dark atmospheric atmosphere. Redundancy. No, but like it just gives me like the really cool, just like feeling of like tactical to some extent. And it's something that Tarkov doesn't really explore either too, right? Tarkov doesn't really have any maps like that where it's like, I guess if you play night maps it kind of does, but the whole kind of like CQB night, like needing NVGs and lasers and flashlights, all that good shit. But the big thing, like the big takeaway, right, is it feels like if it doesn't have aesthetic considerations, it's overlooked. And there's not something cool to include aesthetically. Oh god, FPS. What did I do to deserve this? These damn suitcases. Hey Pace, how's it going? We got a medium mech, I think, in here. Yeah, medium mech stuck in the doorway. Oh, okay, there's a laptop over there. I know, I'm not, maybe... She does have a regular attack, right? Oh no, she has, no, I probably haven't actually then. She had her stomp, right? And she has her 2 sync kills. I don't think I've seen her do a lunge yet. Granted, the issue mainly is that she just doesn't do enough damage with her melee attacks to kill tanks. I feel like they can probably just up that though, right? Considering she already, like, if you get close to her as a scav, she already sync kills you, so that's not really a big deal. Nice spaced. Oh man, imagine we ever get to the point where they do seasonal events. Granted, it's not live service, but doesn't mean they can't do just like quirky things a patch or two. Make up their own seasonal events in the realm of Forever Winter. I always love the whole thing where like in the span of 95 bullets, our gun turns from like a 5 MOA to like a 25 MOA. Yeah, the sync kills really do not care a lot about verticality. You build your own cow? Oh god. Give all the cyborg Santa hats, yeah. I feel like you would just give them like elf ears, right? You would actually, Pace, I think what you would do there is you would like, kind of like the handlers, you would have the cyborg officer with the Santa hat, and then you would have a bunch of like mini cyborgs with elf ears. Hey Ari. And so it's like the picture is like the cyborg officer Santa sending his little elf minions against you. Yeah, we got 1 out of 2. I haven't seen where that sniper spawns if he doesn't spawn up there in that middle area. Probably just died. Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to give the grabber a red nose. Did I not pick you up? That's weird. I thought I picked it up. Oh well. You know what, let's do a cemetery. I'm feeling kind of spooky today. I'd say there's always people. See, when you turn cyborgs into people, right, they have a bunch of bits they don't need anymore. And you just remove some extra bits. We're gonna make snowbed, sure. Hey, Moving Shadow. Yeah, most of the outdoor maps have a chance of just having the cows floating around. I do have an entire video of it on YouTube, going into crackpot theories why that's the case. The simplest thing, right, if you just want to take it for face value, is that the cows are food. Why they're delivered in such a way, who's to say? But like the simplest thing is cows are food. I don't know why this is the case, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but you know, it is what it is. Also, the balloons are way too small for the cows, but that's a different point entirely. Hey, you can have your rule of cool and still like work to have it make sense physically. You don't need to scream in Isaac Newton's face. Come here, dog. I need some comfort from all of this. So toothpaste. In that first room we were in with all of like the trash bags, I usually will find it there. It doesn't spawn consistently though, so I'm guessing some of its spawns are either bugged or just you can only do it once or twice. But I think it's mainly because I think the quest spawns are bugged. Hey, 47. Yeah, there's a lot of rule of cool in the game, but there's always the important thing too, right? Where you can have rule of cool, and you can also try and like make it make sense in your own way. Like for example, think of all of the sci-fi settings that have faster than light travel. For the most part, all of them try to at least explain what the hell is going on with their FTL, right? They don't just say FTL, it works. They they actually try to ground their FTL in some capacity. We have, okay, we got all these. And so you can kind of do the same thing with the cows, where like you still follow the rule of cool, but you do your darndest to make it make sense. Like for example, having the balloons be of appropriate sizes.
It's always the same up here.
Delta, I'm not sure if we're getting explanations for anything in the game, to be honest. They did say they prefer kind of the whole lore sort of aspect a bit. Or sorry, the Dark Souls lore aspect, where basically like they show, don't tell. And they kind of like give you hints here and there, but they never like basically exposition dump you and tell you everything you would like to know. We're probably never going to get like a pure just story or just like lore dump. Alright, the book is not there, so we can move on. Maybe toothpaste. It's basically what they are, right, though? Cow DoorDash? No, Ari, it is not. It's even veteran, like, until you get a character with, like, 2k health, it's not friendly at all. Once you get above 2k, you can play Gunhead on this map, but, like, not being able to heal is a real bitch. But, like, the big thing about this map, right, is the grabber's always present. The grabber gets pissed off if you fight too much. And so it's just a map where you have to be just, it's fun to play once in a while, but like it is a map where you play it once, you've played it every time because of the grabber. I mean, Van, that's what it's there for, right, too. It's a great tool for like learning the map early, or learning the maps. It can be kind of really hard to like find loot spots and find quest items in the maps without like exterior help. And so the Tac Cam allows for that. I weirdly, in a way, wouldn't, I hate that the door makes noise. And yeah, keep moving because they're gonna come over here and investigate. I wouldn't kind of mind if, for example, they kind of changed how the Tac Cam worked and didn't necessarily make it an attachment, but more made it a mode you could be in. Essentially, the way I view it is this, right? Is I really think this game is a bit too heavy on the HUD when HUD is on. But it also has an issue too, right? Where a lot of potential information is not presented to you. So having this optional toggleable mode like Tac Cam to give you like plentiful information would be kind of really nice, right? Like the default game you play with very minimalistic HUDs, but if you'd like to know more and like maybe scan the environment, or scan units, you can use a Tac Cam. So Ari, there's kind of the imitation of that. They'll hear your gunshots, or they'll react to your gunshots if you're unsilenced. If you're silenced, they won't care. When you are standing up or sprinting, you essentially have a radius around you to kind of, in a way, act as noise. Like a very simple sound system. So for most characters, your radius will be around 6 meters. So if you're standing up, essentially, like, things around you will notice you. And if you're running around or sprinting, it will get worse. But if you just crouch, for the most part, Ari, you will be safe from their detection, except for visually. Yeah, so moving shadow, there are a few times where this quest can bug out. I've noticed that too this patch. I think it's the one on this side over here that bugs out, so yeah. Also the comms too on this map, I haven't been able to pick up this patch either, so yeah, just a few of the quests are bugged. Yeah, Van, they could go that route too. It really just depends on the systems they want to do for things like armor and stuff, and like, it's hard. I guess it's such a like a philosophical sort of the kind of debate, right? Of having a stylized game like this, and do you want to have it be like very gamified or very realistic? And I kind of feel like where there's so many realistic extraction shooters out right now, it would be very interesting to go a more stylized route. And essentially what I'm alluding to here, right, is say for example you approach the game and like with an armor system that's an HP system that's much more present in front of you. So say for example if you had this alternate mode, hold on, god damn it, these fucking people. Oh my god. Do. And ban. So, going back to your conversation, you have a system, right, where you kind of potentially maybe see HP and armor. And maybe you don't even see HP, right, but you do see, like, the armor classifications on units. So you know, like... So say, for example, like... There's a certain level of armor on units where, say, bullets will ricochet, bullets will do damage to the armor, bullets will do nothing to the armor. And so, like, having a HUD element like that, being able to, like, use a Tac Cam, whatever you want, could be a way of showing, you know, people, hey, you know, the unit has armor here, your bullets aren't going to do anything. And maybe they still leave some mystery, right? Because you won't know what bullets impact what. You don't know what bullets go through level 3 or whatever, so on and so forth, but... Yeah, similar to Helldivers in that regard, yeah. I do think, though, like... You could probably show people, like, the levels of armor and where it is. Or at least give ideas of, like, how much armor they have. Maybe you don't even show, the levels of armor, you just show... Or rather, as opposed to showing...
I hope the bastards at home appreciate this.
So maybe the Tac Cam, for example, I mean, I wouldn't be against, like, say, Gunhead having armor, right? That could be one of his things, too. But... And maybe that could be an element of discovery, too, right? Is maybe you don't know a lot about these units, first off, but maybe you can do things to learn more about them. So say, for example, that could be almost a quest line or a way of eventually taking down like a Mother Courage, is that you first need to understand or learn where Mother Courage's weaknesses are. And so, like, say, for example, you could just, like, look up on the internet where they are, but if you actually want to ground yourself in the game and learn yourself, maybe there's quests or things you can do or things you can watch. Maybe, like, actually... that could be a thing too, right? Where you go into a map and like you do your combat voyeurism, where you just watch units interact and do things, and from that you might learn passive experience wise, or maybe you see weaknesses. I don't know. There's so many different routes to pursue, right? And naturally, complicated and all that good stuff. The only one I've like heard a lot about, Frog, is that connect the dots is now possible. The one that's between Scrapyard and Scorched Enclave. Apparently the box will spawn in the bunker now on Scorched Enclave. That's the only big one I know about. Until we get like a massive quest refactor, like, or just redesign or just overhaul, I'm not sure if we're ever going to see a lot of quests get fixed or just changed. I mean, I haven't been reached out to at all. I'm not against the concept. We do have a community stream day, though. Every other Friday. Which was just last Friday. I'm not against the concept, but yeah, like, I am pretty, like, rigid in regards to when I'm stream, for many reasons, but yeah. There's a very important aspect of, like, making sure I pace myself to not get burnt out, right? Well, let's use the mech trench. I feel like they just oversight for now. I feel like they're gonna be able to open doors eventually. It is kind of weird though how we're like the only ones who can open doors. I feel like that's just an oversight though. Let's go you. I can easily see a future where they can also open doors. It's probably just a thing too, right? Where like they wanted to give you like some area of reprieve if you needed to by closing yourself off inside. We probably don't need jump for this. It's mech trench, which is not very vertical, which seems very weird for a trench, but I digress. No, yeah, the quest in Cemetery, right, with the logbook can be bugged. Oh, for sure, XMB. It's just not developed yet. And there's probably certain things they want to do with doors too, or like blowing them open or damaging them. Like, for example, the grabber blade doesn't open doors, it breaks them down. Same thing with the Orgamech. Just missing functionality. And it being probably low priority. Hello, Mr. Mech. Hello. Goodbye. Let's start the good old meat grinder right here. It's gonna be fun if they ever change this to be like a one-shot kill if you get inside of it. Sudden surprise. Is there anything back here? No. It feels like physics says this would like stretch out this way a bit, but you know. I guess they are kind of congealed. Glued together by the dried blood. Oh, I never went over here before. Ugh. Ugh. Oh, John, yeah, the whole Exo debacle where Exos are just like, you know, walk through doorways. Delta, that's called meat. Sorry, protein. We don't need to call it meat, we just call it protein now. Ah, yes, the battlefield stack of just condensed protein. I wonder what they use glue guns for. Is it like Gorilla Glue? Is like super strong glue for anything? Imagine if you're a poor, just like trooper, right? And you don't have a rail on your gun, and so like you take your glue gun and you just, you know, just plop your sight on there. I can't recall. This is just, it's one of the 5 million hollows in the game. I unfortunately cannot recall what it is. The real curse of having so many different optics is I can't remember what it's called. It's the small square one, or I guess small rectangle one. Good night, sweet prince.
A day well spent.
I always kind of find it weird too. Like we can pull the plug on him, but we like shooting him doesn't do anything. RPK is like still probably the best gun in the game. But like the M4 and the AK are perfectly fine too.
A day well spent.
That's gonna be mainly probably Van resolution scaling. So like having less resolution scale and then having DLSS off. DLSS off is like one of the biggest thing that's going to cause ghosting like that. It's also partially on the monitor too, but like I know what you're referring to in this game. It's mainly going to be DLSS that's going to be causing things like that. But for my settings, this is what I got. So high, basically all high across the board. And then 60% scaling, 1440p, and then DLSS off. I mean, they're all wildly inaccurate at a certain point, right? Like, I'm pretty sure the guns function almost identically right now. They have basically all the same recoil pattern or tendencies where, and like they do have like slight modifiers in that system, but they all function the same in that system, right? Where it's just a small little vertical burst and then a laser, and then as you continue firing the laser, depending on the guns, it gets less and less accurate. So like, for example, SMGs will have that spread very quickly. A wide spread after fighting, like shooting for a while, where the rifles will maintain that a bit longer. Soldier factory, stop! Man, Grillo is not gonna like me after this. It's not my fault, Grillo. Self-defense. I mean, I just want the RSAS removed from the game. That's just me, though. Do I want water or do I want lockboxes? I don't think it even matters, to be honest. Let's grab some water. Like, in regards to aesthetics, the RSAS is, like, probably my pet peeve to guns that don't feel like they fit the setting. Like M16s, M4s, yeah, okay, surplus, I got you, I understand. Do we really have a massive surplus of RSASs? Let me leave. Friggin' soldier factory. And I will say, actually, Ari, you'll be surprised too. If you do headshot comparisons, the 308 is one of the few guns that will actually, like, one-shot headshot most, if not all, infantry. Like, the AKs and RPKs usually won't one-shot infantry. The one-shot some, but not all. The SA-58, or any 308 gun, will actually one-shot headshot every infantry in the game, except for the Ruska infantry with heavy armor, the males, basically. Yeah, the Pupashaw is a bit weird. But, like, it's one of those guns, too, where you can basically manufacture it, like, with nothing, so... Like, I can understand from, like... Despite the Pupashaw not being perfect, right, in regards to probably fitting the setting, it at least is unique, right? It actually functions in a unique way in comparison to other SMGs. So it stands out. So many of the rifles right now are just, like, the same. If they were all vastly different or somewhat different and played differently and had their own use cases and felt interesting to use, different story, right? I think they actually have pretty similar health, like the AODs and the heavy infantry. I will say, for the most part, the EODs are like, yeah, pushovers for sure, for the most part. They're not that scary. Though, granted, I'm sure, like, eventually, when they get updated, they're gonna be much more deadly. Right now, a lot of them have the mount on their waist for, like, a smart gun. Basically, like an HMG, probably. They just don't have that yet. Or just a Spectre SMG. Which is just a USP on steroids. Let's see. How much 45 do I actually have? Probably not that much. Where are you, Spectre? I need a silencer for you. Let me just go restore this real quick. Restore. Now, the Spectre SMG is actually insane. Quiver, I already do. Yeah. Community stream last Friday, man. Yeah. Let's go 400. 400's probably fine. Medkits, Heisenberg. Yeah, no worries. Every other Friday. I mean, we can certainly try, right? We can certainly try. Let's head over to Mesa. It does. He might be meaning more like with accuracy, perhaps. It's probably harder to get one-shot accuracy on it consistently, but we'll see. Ari, I don't know. That's a great question.
No heroes tonight.
I imagine they don't work off the same rules, I guess. I don't know. It only seems to like not let you restore your guns if only if they're out of stock, not if you're not supposed to be able to buy them. Yeah, Spectre does have a silencer. We have a can on this. It works real good. Thanks, Az. Appreciate it. I'm glad you enjoy them. No, hey. So yeah, one shot of cyborgs. Who is shooting? Stop it. Yeah, one shot to infantry. Could have been hurt though. It's really up to them. I cannot speak for Fundog. I can only do what they provide me in that regard. But I don't have, maybe it'll happen again in the future, but I don't have the highest of hopes right now considering we don't have a CM anymore.
Peace through discovery.
I've had to fix this, but wait, hold on. So it could just be me talking past what's going on. So hold on, we can just do a quick sync test, right? So I've had to change it before, but maybe I need to change it again. So how delayed is the sound of like the flash and the sound of the gun firing? My mag output's delayed. I don't think that could just be me talking in a different past what I was actually doing though, right? I will refer to things I do in the past all the time. That could just be me talking delayed as opposed to the actual audio being delayed. Yeah, that's what I figured too. I'll look into it a bit later, I'm curious, but like, I'm not gonna mess with this on stream right now, and it's basically, I've never had issues with it before. There was an issue where it was desynced with the actual, like, game audio eventually or one time, but that's been fixed. Wiver, I'm, like, that's not really how I feel like relationships go in that direction. It's more of if they're willing to offer as opposed to me reaching out, right? Like, that doesn't really feel like that's how the relationship should be. It's good to go. Like, if you're desperate for more lore with her, like, that's more of a fun dog thing than a me thing, right? I can't get them to give us more lore. That's not really how this works. It's how they want to approach their game, and that's certainly fair. Oh, that's fair, Ari. I'll do it later. It could be delayed by like a half second or two, perhaps. I'm not saying I don't believe you, but I don't think it's important enough for me to mess with it midstream right now. Now, game audio is a different story, right? It does look weird when like the guns don't hear the same way. See, now you mention everyone's gonna look for it now. Everyone's gonna notice it. Yeah, extremely slight delay. That's perfectly fair. I'll try to fine-tune it a bit. Into the crawler. Baby Frog. On that note, kind of like the heavy rifles like that, we already get pretty quick HKs from having 20 mils. I imagine if we ever had like RPGs or like anti-tank guns, we might get noticed very quickly. There's always this kind of theory too, right, where like everything is aware of us. It's a question of do they care? And by having something like a RPG, they might start caring very quickly. Thanks, Silver. Appreciate it. Granted, I mean, like, that's the only thing that exists right now for the game, so it's kind of hard for me to do more when that's the only thing that there is. But thanks, I appreciate it. In retrospect, I like, with the comments I've received in that video, I would probably make it a bit deeper next time, but no. I'm glad it was decently well received. I'm not here to farm cyborgs. I'm here to actually get through and see if there's a container up top I can loot. Nope, container. Now, on Frozen Swamp, and I think this map too, they have slightly updated the top of these Titans, I believe. You can see what's here too. I know it's definitely on Frozen Swamp. I feel like a few of these areas are new, like this barrel's new. I feel like these barrels are new here around here. It felt much more desolate before. So I wonder if they're like slowly updating the top of these Titans a little bit for maybe quests. Nightcall, I definitely think there is a fine balance to actually like take, right? And there's different approaches too, right? Like for example, I would say there's I would say there's the Souls approach, and then there's like the Destiny approach. And if you're unfamiliar with Destiny, right, Destiny gives you a lot of lore, but because it's live service, right, you still kind of have that theory crafting stage where you know the lore in the background, but there's still gaps in plenty of the lore, and there's things that are happening into the future of this live service game with Destiny, right, where, you know, even though they give you a lot, there's still plenty of gaps to go off and theorize, right? And then you have like the Dark Souls approach, where because the game's static and not live service, it's you know, finite. You leave it fairly vague, but you give lots of hints here and there, right, for people to piece together their own stories. And considering that this game is going to be probably finite, right? they're gonna be taking the lore, like kind of the Dark Souls approach, much more likely than Destiny. But that doesn't mean like you know, with Lordos, right, and other things, right? They can definitely do like, considering the world is so big and there's so much stuff potentially going on, they can give you lore from different areas and like have you have to use that lore to piece together with things like, because we're so self-contained, giving us characters from across the world and having them tell what's going on across the world to us will let us use that information to theorize on things happening here, right? So there's still that like kind of element of, oh, we're getting more information, but we're also like, we have to theorize on what that information means for our area.
Peace through discovery.
Yeah, flip. It also depends too on how it's presented also. Like, for example, Destiny does mainly just like logs, right? And you piece together it from logs, and then like Dark Souls does like item descriptions and stuff like that, where you kind of have to like go out of your way to like piece to get things together. As you probably have seen, by the way, this raid, the Spectre does shred. Yeah, I stopped playing Destiny. Like, I really like the lore of Destiny. I think they did a great job with the lore in Destiny. I stopped playing mainly because the game mechanics, though, and the live service model. I really just, they leaned a bit. I was getting very annoyed with the FOMO in that game, right? Where like it's just a constant cycle of, oh man, if you don't play, you won't be able to get this gunner skin again. And I was like, fuck off. And I enjoyed the gameplay, I enjoyed the gunplay, and I enjoy like so much about that game, right? It's just the constant churn cycle of just keeping you, like, trying to keep you engaged artificially. Wiver, the next video is not going to be a deep dive, but it is going to be a big video. To give you an idea, the current script I have done for it right now is twice the size of a normal video for me, and I'm not even done yet.
Savor it.
I cranked out about, I think, 4K words this weekend, somewhere around there. And there's still plenty more to go. But no, it's not gonna be a deep dive. It's gonna be slightly different. It's gonna still be, you know, game related, but different. It was, there were certain periods, Flip, where Destiny was really good, and it wasn't too crazy with its live service, but definitely when it kind of left and was its own thing for a while, like Bungie was its own thing, it seemed they pushed kind of like the whole FOMO element a lot more. I guess they were worried about retention and money perhaps, but however, all I will say this so far is it's a much more general overview video. As it's already a co-op game. It's already a co-op game. It's already a co-op game. Now, does that co-op function perfectly? As we saw on Friday? No. It's got a lot of issues when you're not the host, but it is there, and I'm sure it's being worked on. It's a little janky, just a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean like you can get to the point where you can't play the game. But I digress. Let's go be an old man for a bit. Thanks, Destiny. Appreciate it. Hey, Hoffman. How's it going? Let's do some SVD stuff. $54R, where are you? Literally blind. Am I literally blind? There we are. All right, SVD, rifles. We'll bring it back up AK2 just in case. Wait, really? I didn't even know that, Flip. That's crazy. So the host and client will actually see different things. Oh man. And for example, Flip, the reasons you're saying right now is why I think it was always so wise for them not to try to do PvP. For like, if this is mainly their first game off by themselves, right? Do not do a game that requires serious networking. You're only asking for failure. And I understand why they did co-op too, right? Because the first thing, hey Bob, nice. People were gonna ask for in regards to a game like this is like, where's co-op at? So like, yeah, it needs to have co-op, but like most definitely very happy they did not try to do PvP.
On the road again.
Did I forget? God, I forgot the jump, damn it. We're gonna stay on the ground here. And what's always weird, right? Like, testing out networking is always weird, right? When you're, I guess, they were like not in one office together. Oh god. I made a mistake. Oh, hey, Pyro. Let me just go switch guns real quick. Flip, it's a common thing though I will see too with tons of co-op games or like indie networking games. They never seem to have great peer-to-peer. It's always like peer-to-peer does have a stigma, right? Where like whenever a game is peer-to-peer, you're like, no, it's like this is gonna be probably a pretty janky online experience. Yeah, Lil Papa, that was my first jump too. But at the same time, we kind of do know they are like not one office. They at least have, I think Euruscan or Eurasian, one of their artists is not like 12 hours time difference, right? Granted, their artists might not be playtesting and QA testing their game, so different thing entirely. No, for sure. Yeah, wouldn't be playing otherwise. The Hopium. At the very least, it's a very interesting sort of, what the hell are you? Grimdark environment, right? And like, it's interesting too, because like, I would say the genre has been starved of a new IP for a while. I mean, we do have Trench Crusade and so on and so forth, but considering like, if you go to like the theory crafting channel on Discord, right? So many of the conversations just lean or head over back to Warhammer 40k, because there's just not a lot of different IPs in the genre, right? To pull ideas or concepts or comparisons from. Which I think kind of shows that there's probably a hole in the genre for more, right? Yeah, well, it's a beautiful line. At the same time, though, you know what I'm gonna say. I don't even need to say it. You know what's coming. Well, it's kind of like Momentum, right? It's like almost space opera grimdark or like high fantasy grimdark. This is much more like gritty, I guess, grounded. I say that, but there's different, you know, there's weird things about it too. Like, all things considered, this is a much more grounded sort of grimdark as opposed to like 40K.
Home sweet home.
Not a lot of loot, but 2 quests done, 3 quests done. For sure, Ari. And I know, like, with the water video, right, it's not really the case anymore for us. But, you know, like, having sympathetic characters in a setting like this, yeah, it's hard to do. Alright, we haven't done Elephant Mausoleum yet, we haven't done Scrapyard yet. So we'll do, God, 5 water for ruins. So much water. I mean, do I really care about water though, to be honest? Like, so the concept being, right, is why would I want to go to ruins for 5 water? What benefits does it offer me to go to not pipes? The only thing really being that it's safer, but by 5, like, we'll spawn ruins, why not? Like, the question being is, like, why would I want to spawn at ruins considering it costs so much? But I guess the question is, water that important? But at the same time, why spend so much water? Alright, time for the 50 cal, we're going loud. Quests. I need more quests, though. I think there's a fine line flip, too. Like, I wouldn't... Can you maybe point... Like, are you... I guess it kind of depends on the media you engage in, but I wouldn't say there's, like, that many altruistic characters in a game like this, right? Like, for the most part, in extraction shooters, right, you are usually fairly selfish. It's kind of rare in a game like this, or a game and genre, that you have that. But I can definitely see if you engage in other media, right, you can have plenty of altruistic characters there, and you don't really want to see it here. Not really, just entirely random. I don't think I've really messed with my rigs at all. I think the main thing to flip to is I don't generally engage with a lot of other games right now. So we probably have different experiences in that regard. And like, naturally it'd be cool if we could have both, right? Systems that let you be altruistic but also let you not. Let's get some cigarettes real quickly for light in the dark. And I think that's an interesting, like, if we go back to the water system I posted forever ago, there's kind of different routes you could possibly take in that a system like that, where you go more the city builder route, where you are kind of altruistic and you build your city up, or you build your innards up to be like kind of this self-maintaining machine. And then perhaps the other route could be is that you're not altruistic, you're not trying to play a city builder, you're trying to play an extraction shooter, where you don't care about building up your innards, you're more about just surviving. Sir, I just got here, can you please chill out? Yeah, I think it was just, it is interesting dust. I think it's just mainly just a way of transferring things between players, right? Just a very simple way. Alright, so I have rescue civilians, I have light in the dark, and then I have just extract from this map. We can go, do I want to go in the trench line with mech here? Hold on, let me see. Are you stuck in the trench yet? Yeah, maybe we don't. Maybe we don't go down the trench line. Yeah, alright, but at the same time, like, once again, there seems to be a tonal shift with the new water video. Like, that used to be the case, and now there's been a total shift in that regard. Sir? Thank you. You didn't want the scar. It definitely requires more work though, but they definitely could do both approaches, right? Where you have two different sides of being a survivor. You have the more water thieves, kind of cutthroat survivors that maybe kind of pushes you toward not building up your innards in a way that has a large population, and then you kind of approach the other way as the city builder side. Two different sides of the same coin of like progression, right? Both having you kind of choose if you want to be more altruistic or not with your scavs. Alright, let's not do data caches. I do not want to get HKs. Oh yeah, there's definitely some balancing considerations too, right? I think right now they just don't want to touch water for a bit. They want to work on other things. Considering they've had like constant feedback on water for 6 months, I can definitely respect the fact they probably want to take a break on water and do other things for a while. Like, Destiny, that's kind of my point here, right? Like, right now it's so early access that the game is, like, self-motivating. You need to find what you want to do in the game yourself. And if you can't find something, then maybe take a break for a while. Because, yeah, once you max out your water and innards, right, there's not really anything to pursue. Yeah, Exito, it'd be nice to be able to, like, not just get murdered by the grabber constantly. Frog, I mean, there's only downtown and there's only 2 maps left, right? Downtown and Shantytown. They did say they want to add more maps in, but like for right now, that's the only 2 we know that are coming. And downtown, like, downtown at least sounds like it should be a map that's going to have a lot of gameplay elements to it. So I'm very looking forward to downtown. Though at the same time, what we've seen of shantytowns thus far is they're probably the most vertical elements of the game we have consistently, right? And I do like the verticality, so I'm kind of like hyped for both. But I'm thinking downtown might have the most gameplay, which will make me excited. I want another frozen swamp, right? I want a map with like actual me making choices in regards to gameplay, as opposed to just going up and down a staircase. Alright, we're good here. We got our cigarettes done. We need to rescue civilians now. Yeah, It depends on it too, Ari. I will say, like, it would help immensely if, like, Stairway was a transit map. Though, there definitely needs to be choices, right, in regards to transit. If, like, say the only way of getting to downtown was using Stairway, it would still be an issue. Oh, for sure, Momentum, but I think right now it's just a functionality thing, right, where so many things are missing functionality in that regards. They don't want to have them die or be killable. It's the melee issue too, right, for the most part, except for Toothy, where you have these 3 unkillable units that are all melee units that you can just murder from being on a rock. So Ari, when you are capped on water, each water container either gives you 1.25k experience, or if you're capped on experience, they give you 25k each. So if you play it properly, water is actually like the best credit farm and best XP farm, to be honest, too. Be free, my children. Go. We won't get any right now because we did like the ruins, which is a 5 water cost. But if you're like doing free water spawns, each container you bring out is 25k. It actually automatically converts. So hold on. So if 2 explosives give you 2 water and rewards, probably then yet, right? So explosives are like what, like 11k? Well, you're actually turning them in, right? Well, let's see if we can find that quest real quick. Thanks from scavengers. Ah, we left too soon for this quest, damn it. So let's go over to... So... You're turning in... So it's 1-to-1 for this, right? You need to use water out of it. So yeah, it's just better, right? If you can find the... I think you can pick this up too, I'm pretty sure, in regards to like... If you have explosives in your inventory, you can just do this right off the rip, I'm pretty sure. But let's say, for example, play Bagman here. Let's play Bagman. Let's take the rack in. We're gonna go over to Mech Trench here. And let's grab a silencer. Like if for some reason you are compelled to like farm money or water in that regard, this is a really easy way of doing it. There's definitely, like, if you're looking for exactly water, there's probably better ways of doing it, like Scorched Enclave, but if you're looking just for like a very quick, safe route with lots of volume of loot, this works out pretty well. Guys, it does depend on the entry fee too. Mech Trench will occasionally go down to like 1 or free, I believe, but it won't. It generally will always cost some water, while Graveyard seems to be free a lot of the time. And so, like, the main reason why I like this route, and it's pretty brainless for the most part. When I want to do farming, it's a means to an end. So I don't want to have to think about it a lot. But say, for example, we pick up Bagman here, we pick up the rack. Technically speaking, actually, we'd be better off with Gunhead. I forgot. Gunhead can use the rack also. And Gunhead's faster. So we probably should be Gunhead here, not Bagman. Oh yes, the pipe to nowhere. But yeah, there's occasionally a medium mech to your left, but for the most part, you can just ignore it. And you're mainly just sprinting to this loot room here, right? With like 5 million crates and then a bunch of loose item drops.
Not too shabby.
Because this entire wall over here will just have a stupid amount of materials.
All in a day's work. Bagging it up.
And so now we're full. That is true. Considering you get, I think you get HKs for 4 water if I recall correctly. We have HKs though for sure right now, we just heard them. And this actually would be a lot faster with Gunhead too. We probably add an extra minute to our time just from now having Gunhead on. Because Bagbat is that fucking slow.
Great job, crew.
But yeah, just quick in and out, grab a bunch of loot, then leave. Like, if you want to farm water or money, right, yeah, we could probably shave about like a half a minute off of this if we were Gunhead. Not bad experience too, like 10k. Granted, it did cost us 2 water, so it does like hurt our income a little bit there, but for the most part, right? I tell you, it's like you still like it naturally. It's variable, right? Like it will change here and there, but for the most part, it's such a simple route to run. And like, let's just do it one more time with Gunhead, right? Let's see the speed of Gunhead real quick. He's not that much faster, but he is faster. We'll bring like an extra 100 rounds. Hey, Wave. Yeah, I mean, like, there's not really that many strats, though. It's mainly just... my biggest thing is just... If you think something's going to be a problem, you're generally just gonna want to kill it. You take so much damage right now, for the most part, like, from units. It's never worth it just letting them survive. You're just better off killing them. Alright, nothing there, unfortunately. Give me the loot. We have 1 slot left. We can find 1 more water in the next room. You can probably pick up some quests too. I think the spare parts for the repairing of the meat grinder actually sell for something in this game, so you can always pick up that too, and that will spawn a lot of them in that room. Let's not fuck with these guys if we can. Actually, they're moving away. Freaking guy's moonwalking over there. Let's continue on. Yeah, didn't aggro them, we're good. Okay, and we're full, so we can just leave. If we really wanted one more water, we can probably go into that room over there and get one more water, but I didn't want to fight them too much. I think you nailed it right there, right? Highish health and then kind of free-ish fun. The biggest thing, right, is that, or the free gun, is that Gunhead can use anything in the game and not be colossally slow. It is alright. It's supposed to look kind of like, you get used to it, but it does like kind of look like stop motion a bit, right? Hey, Star Fury. About the same time, actually. I mean, we did get stopped a little bit by that patrol, but similar time, actually. Yeah, 3 minutes for a quick run of loot. So over the course of an hour, right? 20 runs-ish. But like with stuff like this in the game, right? It just kind of points to the fact is, at least personally for me, I don't think there's much need for farming in this game. Everything's pretty easy to come by. So if you want to farm, it's up to you, but I just don't see a lot of merit in it right now. Yeah, Gunhead's also like one of those characters too, where if you want to make the game more artificially difficult for you, it gives you the option of doing that. Which I think is perfectly fine too, right? Like having the options be in game to make the game more difficult for yourself is interesting. Echelon, they can. It's mainly from, let me see if the quest is up for me. There's a quest called Water Wars, and that will be generally the main driver of if you get invasions. That, or if you've automated your water at all. That being your inner upgrades. So you can still get invaded. You kind of have to try to get invaded. And it's still, for the most part, a joke. So, like, you get 3 to 4 different water thieves, and they're really easy to kill. So, unless you have nothing, you should be able to take them out pretty easily. Should I use a non-meme G36? Maybe. Let's give it a solid chance here. Let's not bully it. I have this tendency to want to bully the G36 because you can customize it, but let's not this time. Let's give it a good old chance. They mainly, I think, they drop RPDs, VTASs, and the Vepr. But I'm sure that's probably what you meant, right? The RPD. But yeah, if you do Water Wars, you will eventually get the invasion. That and just buy the upgrade for your innards too to have automated water delivery. It will eventually trigger. I think it's maybe they mean Masked Man. Thanks, Echelon, appreciate it. Masked Man does have aiming issues sometimes in regards to his left and right, and I would say the thing also too right now, if they're playing co-op, Bashiko, co-op has a lot of issues right now. Where, for example, I was playing Bagman the last stream on co-op, and we were having lots of issues, and it wasn't really like aiming; it was just being able to do anything. Which they could kind of come off as aiming. No, like the last hour of the community stream last week, it was a real doozy. Because we were like, we weren't playing as host, and so we get to experience what sometimes you experience when you're not the host of the game. And it was certainly interesting. Two's fine. I've heard different things, John. I can't really confirm what exactly. So for example, like I logged in earlier, I think last night or today, just to check a few things out, and I got the invasion, but I didn't have Water Wars active. I don't have the innards upgrade, so it just happened eventually, but I have done Water Wars in the past. So it does, maybe like once you do Water Wars, you have a timer eventually, and eventually it will happen. I mean, once it happens, once it clears out, I don't really know, but like definitively, if you do Water Wars at least once, you are opted into invasions, it seems like. Yeah, I mean, if you throw a bunch of money in your vault, you're usually okay. But yeah, there is always that chance you might just get got, right? But no. In regards to aiming though, Pashiko, like there is this issue, right? For example, with Gunhead, or sorry, Massive Man, where like, as you see when we shoot, our guns jumps to the left a lot. And that's not recoil, that's just this weird camera issue with Gunhead, or Mass Man. Well, there's a lot of guns right now, so the way guns work is that you'll start out as a laser, but as you continue to fire, your guns will get more and more inaccurate, and certain guns have different weights of that inaccuracy. And so if they're using guns like Painless and LMGs with Bagman, those guns right now have a lot of that issues where when you start firing in full auto, it will be like a sub 1 MOA, but as you keep firing, it'll go up to like a 25 or 30 MOA. Essentially, the longer you fire, the worse the spread gets, to a very comical degree. It's hard to display exactly right now how bad it is with a Mass Man and only 40 rounds, but like if you have a large magazine that's really bad, we'll bring an LMG in next and we'll show you how bad it can get. It's kind of crazy how much the spread gets kind of funky. Oh no, Christian, I am a very like stark critic of the HUD currently in the game. I even dislike the fact that like right now we have these indicators in the game right now. I don't want this on the HUD either, to be honest. But they did a few changes this patch in regards to these, and so they're even in no HUD mode right now. And it makes me kind of upset. Like, I don't even want to see these little diamonds above their head either, to be honest. The game looks so much better without them. And it's kind of like my motivation too of having like a Tac Cam mode everyone has access to see things like this. So you can like have the default mode or a mode, just not have all this extra stuff. Oh, for sure. I'm not saying it's easy by any means, but I am not a fan of the HUD. Like, I wouldn't say the HUD's obnoxious, but for like, it's such a weird thing too, right? 'Cause I wouldn't say, if I go back to turn that on, I wouldn't say this HUD is intrusive, but at the same time, it just seems to detract from the art of the game so much. Like, if you showed me this HUD and I was critiquing it, I wouldn't say it's a bad HUD, but at the same time, for some, I don't know how to even word it right. For some reason, just in this game, it just doesn't mesh well with the art. And it just feels out of place. More minimalistic, or like, granted, this is like us living the dream, right? But like almost a Dead Space style HUD where it's grounded in the game. Granted, that would be so much fucking work in of itself just for a HUD element. I don't think we'll ever see that, but man, if I could dream.
This gear is delicate. I need time to sort.
Thanks, MT, appreciate it. just, yeah, more like coming for, if they grounded everything in the game or coming from your character, it would be great. Granted, I understand like that's a very big ask though, right? It sounds simple, but it is not. Because it's not just one character, right? It's they would have to do it for all of the characters. Like they could have a template that would apply to all, but at the same time they'd still have to fine-tune it per character, right? I would probably place it a lot higher though over other things, right? Like I would probably prefer a reworked HUD over melee. Like melee and bayonets would be cool, but like I would almost prefer like a grounded HUD. If I had to choose between melee combat system in this game or HUD rework, thanks Vinny, appreciate it. It's very kind of you. I would probably choose reworked HUD. I don't know, Pashiko. They've kind of shown off so many different units so far. I think the biggest thing I would love to see is a lot more like bio horror, or just like kind of body horror coming from Yoruska. I'm not like, and I'm not even sure if that's what's supposed to, like, I've become more convinced over time that maybe that shouldn't actually be what Yoruska is, but like I would still love to see like what they're supposed to be, right? If that's not the case. I'm not saying Yoruska has to be body horror, but I would like to see the iteration that Yoruska is supposed to be next, right? Are they supposed to be more grotesque and body horror-esque, right? Or are they a different thing that we're kind of not realizing? I would love to see that. All right, so let's break out an LMG now. So we'll bring LMG and SMG in because like they both kind of suffer the same issue right now, where they just both have a lot of spread. We'll bring the P90. I know it's not silenced, but at the same time, the P90 does have a big magazine relative to other SMGs. Bring 200 rounds in, and then we'll bring an LMG in. The Solid's probably the best case scenario. They're all going to be pretty bad. How much 308 do I have? We can use a MG34, I think. Actually silence it too. Seeing the bigger mechs would be nice too. I don't think we might have the, I'm not sure if we have the environments yet to support the very large mechs like Big Green, but I would love to see them too, right? I would love to see what they want to do with them in regards to the maps, right? I kind of think they're going to be off map for the most part. Like they might influence the map from being off map, but like they're going to be not things that you're going to be like directly next to. All right, meds, please. And let's just do Ash and Mesa for right now. It'll show us a good idea of like how far they spread apart. Oh, for sure, Hyper, right? No problem, Vinny. Once again, thanks for the gift subs. I guess they're called memberships on YouTube. Yeah, Hyper, it's like, it's hard to say exactly. Like, the way I kind of view Yoruska right now is that they are essentially trying to adapt biology via any means to survive this future. If they can adapt the biology in more natural ways, they will. But if they have to use technology and armor and stuff like that, they will. Okay, so this is going to show you kind of the spread of the guns right now. So as you fire, it gets worse and worse. SMGs get pretty bad pretty quickly, but you're going to see it probably with the gun over here, right? Where you can see like the spread gets kind of comical the longer you fire, right? Well, Yoreska has the corpse tank, right? But it feels like the corpse tank for your, Europa corpse tank. The European corpse tank seems to be mainly just a disguise for night shift Merkava crews, right? It seems to be a way for like Europa to fight at night and not get instantly demolished, right? They hide in the corpses and then try to like maybe ambush Mother Courages. But like, yeah, you can just see how bad the spread gets. It's to the point where the bullets aren't even going to the area we can see on our red dot. And kind of the same thing too here with like, it's kind of bad when like the bullet spread is so bad that our pip sights can't even show us where our bullets are landing anymore. Wait, hold on here. Wait a gosh darn second. I saw you up there. You can't hide from me. There it is. There it is. You can see it. Bottom left of the screen. I'm busy. Hold on, where were we? Where did you go now? I don't know why this is the case, but there's so many instances of just like magazines being off screen. There it is. There you are. Why are you there? Why are you attached to me, magazine? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just a way of them trying to like actually like ambush Mother God. Oh, and when you switch guns, it pops in front of your screen. That's what it is. So you can see it when we switch guns, it goes in front of us. That's what I saw earlier. What the hell? It's actually still there. What? No, but yeah, going back to night shifts, right? So it seems like for right now, the reason why we don't see Europans on night shifts is because they basically get obliterated. And I guess them hiding in corpses as a way of them actually being able to survive on the night shift past whatever happens. All right, well, I'm never using the P90 again. Hello, magazine. How goes it, magazine? I can see that, right? Trying to like stop recovery operations from happening potentially. It's such a... Oh man.
Fill those pockets quick.
Yeah, until like I'm curious too, right? Do we see recovery operations for Europa in the future also? Like we get the sense that like Yoreska rebuilds the night during the night shift for the most part, but is Europa gonna like try to recover bodies, for example, for Rat King? Leave Rat King alone. Leave Rat King alone. God, I'm not accurate enough for this. Leave him alone. I mean, to be fair, I mean, Rat King's probably not gonna be alive for very long. Leave him alone. Are you saying, Ari, with my 25 MOA gun, sorry, 100 MOA gun, my bullets are spreading and accidentally hitting Rat King? Inconceivable. SVD is actually very good. I'm out of bullets. The SVD is accurate, has plenty of damage, one-shot most infantry. Like, it doesn't have a good magazine, but like it with the changes and fixes to iron sights now, the SVD is very good. I am out of bullets. It's time to leave. I try to help. Can I find bullet? No, I can't find bullet. Yeah, I mean, if I get a hunter killer grabber, it's just like a scheduled loss. Rat King, no. No, wait, no, leave me alone. I don't have bolts anymore. But like, if I get a this fucking P90 mag, if I get like a HK stalker and I'm not a character above 2k HP, I kind of just treat it as a scheduled L, which I don't think is a good thing by itself, right? Like having something feel kind of like a predetermined death is just kind of shitty, but it is what it is. I guess that's kind of the whole thing too about like this game, right? To some extent, is that sometimes you will just die. It's outside of your control, which is fair. That kind of just is war in a nutshell, right? Sometimes you just get unlucky. But if you get like a stalker HK, right, you suddenly lose a lot of agency. It's just not really. Oh, hey, fuck off. It's gotten better, Christian. I know they talked like last year about bringing someone in who had much more experience on the technical side of Unreal Engine, and I definitely think they've begun to help out quite a bit because we have seen like this is by far the first patch where we got massive improvements. So it makes me hopeful they can do more in the future. It depends on the map and what's going on, but for the most part, around 60 to 80. Elephant will run usually around 50, and then sometimes like Stairway will dip down to like 30s sometimes because it stutters. But that's more of just Stairway being unoptimized and kind of in progress than, you know, on the game itself. But generally between 60 and 80.
Until the next time.
But no, as you saw, kind of there, that was like a display of the P90 or SMGs and then LMGs both having just really bad cases of inaccuracy after firing for like one magazine. If they wanted to have it, like if they wanted to have some heat mechanic where if your gun heats up, like if their concept is a downside of silencers is they get hot and ruin your accuracy, that's kind of fine. But the heat builds up very comically and the spread is also very comical too, right? And like that's kind of like a point I made a lot too, in a sense of everything feels like the core concepts behind a lot of stuff here doesn't feel bad. It just feels like it's dialed up to 11. Yeah, let's give Stairway another shot. It feels like everything's taken to the extreme. Oh, what gun do I want to bring here? Let's use SMG, why not? Some 9mm. Alright, quests. Any quests for the new map? Sure. Yeah, I'm very thankful for the rig I have right now. I have a 5800X, so 1500X, and then a 3080. And I really do not plan on upgrading anytime soon, because it basically requires a full rebuild at this point. So I would have to both get like a new motherboard and a new CPU, and then like upgrading the, yeah, it would just basically be a new PC at this point. And both my SSDs are getting, one's a lot older than the other, but like I am starting to the point where I need to actually like look at one of these SSDs for like, you know, failure. It's not there yet, but like I've already had one SSD fail on me before in the past, and it's not like instantly abrupt, but it's very abrupt. Like in the span of like a week, it will go from failing to dead. And it will usually first manifest as some very weird bugs for Windows, and then it'll just get worse. Oh, sorry, Dust. I just saw your message. We are doing top, actually.
Our deeds are measured in scraps. Let's not waste space.
I mean, I'm on the cope, Bashiko, too. Because I'm thinking, like, downtown Los Angeles has got to be mainly, like, gameplay and not aesthetic focused. But, I'm ready to be let down. Once again, I'm on the hopium. Until I'm proven wrong. I'm hoping for it. Stalker 2 is a very interesting case, right? I still am of the firm opinion, Stalker 2 did not need to be open world. It really just does not. And like it's weird too. I've been playing some Kingdom Come, the newer one actually. And it's open world, right? It's got two open worlds, right? It's got two zones for open world, and they're pretty big. The second one's definitely bigger than the first, and they are just these wide, expansive areas with not a lot going on. Like it's kind of feels Stalker in that regard, but because you have the ability to like have a horse and fast travel easily. Like I can move and like take in the ambiance if I want to, but I'm not constrained by the game itself on how I move through the world. And like that's a big issue in Stalker 2, right? Where it kind of almost attaches an anchor to your feet and says, you know, moving through this world is gonna be a real bitch, but we're not gonna put anything inside the game for you to like have fun doing it. I have not Delta. I am of the, like, I do not think Stalker 2 approached their open world in a very wise manner. And for that reason, it just feels kind of empty and hollow and kind of annoying to move through. I still love the vibe of the game, don't get me wrong. I'm always gonna be a fan of Stalker in that regard, but man, I think Stalker 2 kind of shows that, you know, open world ain't always the best idea. Even when it makes sense on paper, like, I'm familiar, yeah, Pashiko. Sole developer. Kind of has like that kind of PS2, PS1 aesthetic to it. Oh, for sure, Vinny. Like, once again, difficult to probably do, right? But like, if they could do like radio comms, chatter, different voices. Naturally, like having
Patience.
if they could do a system right where they like instead of the UI indicators, right, it's much more about talking, listening, as opposed to just UI indicators of, oh hey, you know, they say they hear us, or they say they see us, and so on and so forth. Delta, is that referring to beta decay? Oh no, exactly, right? Like, Arma and Squad have the benefit, Christian, of like, you never know when someone might be somewhere. Hey, Jason. Like, that's the whole thing with like DayZ, right? DayZ is like a giant walking simulator, but because of the PvP, it does a lot of heavy lifting, just having that, you know, PvP aspect, right? Of you never know when someone's gonna be in a bush or someone's gonna be in the distance, right? So you have to keep on your toes. But because Stalker 2 is such a, like, things will only happen close by, it'll have to spawn things in to interact with you. You won't see things from afar. It doesn't feel like things are moving throughout the world dynamically and things are just doing their things. It just feels like, oh, hey, I hit dynamic event number 20. Oh, here's coming Bloodsuckers number 51. Everything feels very, very scripted in Stalkers 2's open world. Is he trying to do like a 180 no scope? Kind of Blood Panda in a degree, right? Like, that is an issue with their current spawn system, that they understand the critique, right? Is like seeing Toothy spawn in the same area over and over again kind of detracts from the whole vibe of the game in that regard. Hardest? Weirdly enough, Ashen Mesa has become a lot harder, but probably not in the greatest way. It's mainly just of, do you get accidentally murdered by the chopper? I wouldn't say this map is hard. And that's the problem I'm having right now, Bashiko, is like, I'm thinking of the maps and like, I'm trying to make sure I detach hard from, yeah, Orgamac. Hard from boring. Oh, the floppy 20mm. So with that in mind, hardest. And like, here's the thing too. I'm trying to detach hardest from like a gimmick, sort of like the dog, or basically just the dog, right? I want to say just Scrapyard, right? Like, it's probably a gimme, but like, if you're trying to play Scrapyard and get deep and get out, like, Scrapyard can be a hard map. And it's not hard through like a unit like the Orgamac or Grabber or Toothy. It's hard just because it's a lot of infantry and they hurt. But like, there are plenty of instances on like Ashen Mesa now where the chopper will get your attention and you cannot drop the chopper's aggro, and so you will just die. So that kind of makes Ashen Mesa more difficult, but not in a way I would consider to be, I would say, artificially difficult, not just like gameplay difficult, right? I would say Scrapyard's a map where it's difficult because of the gameplay it kind of forces you into. It kind of forces you into a combat loop. Exito, I would just say more it's about the fact that like outside of Toothy, well, so 3 of the 4 unkillable units are all melee units, and we don't really have a melee unit only unit for Europa. And there's always this issue, right, where if you make them killable, the way the players would engage with those units is they would stand on a rock and then shoot those units until they died. And so because they didn't want that to happen, they didn't want to ruin the ambience of the game for that reason, they made them currently unkillable. And how they're going to solve that issue is up to them. I'm curious how they're going to do it. But for right now, they're mainly just unkillable because of that issue, right? Where it would be kind of comical to kill these special units in a kind of cheap way. Oh, we got neither done. Womp womp. Oh, for sure, right? So, like, I imagine stuff like that will happen in the future. They'll get range attacks or some ways of dealing with height. But until they do, I think they just don't want to have the weird scenarios pop up where the goat, like, imagine being a developer, right, and creating this cool special unit that, like, you put onto the map, right, but it's melee. Hey, real. And so all you do see, like, the only way where you see players engage with them is standing on a rocks and murdering them. Vizette, the revolvers, the Orgamech is so big and the revolvers are so small, it could maybe use only, like, 1 or 2 of its fingers to actually shoot the revolvers. Yeah, Jason. Private lobby. Every other Friday is a community stream where the lobby is open. That was last Friday, and so next Friday, not this Friday, but next Friday will be another community stream. Like, I'm not saying it's impossible, right? But I think they're more aesthetic than they are supposed to be actually used. Yeah, Orgamech, and like, I will say, there are a few pouches on the Orgamech, and it does have a grenade and like a knife. You could maybe see it throw its knife, for example. Hey, that would be cool, right? Maybe it's got a knife you can throw. Or maybe, for example, it just throws a grenade at you. Hey, who's to say too, maybe Mother Courage breathes fire. We don't have any flame units in the game currently, so maybe that's just the case. Well, it's a throwing sword for us, it's a throwing dagger for the Orgamech. But no, it's definitely a sword for us. Alright. What gun do I want to... Let's use SVD, actually. That's fair, too. Just throws revolvers at you. We probably don't need that much SVD ammo. There's no shots we actually shoot that much. 180's fine. And our quests are data waves, swamp, and then scav scrap. Perfect. Should I bring a jump? No, it'll be fine. She picks you up if you're close to her, right? But if you're on a rock that she cannot get to, she needs a way of murdering you. One day I'll get night shift. Yeah, flip, exactly, like a ranged, like, breath attack, essentially. Make her a dragon. Yeah, like, yeah, standing on a rock, standing on a height, so we can play cemetery next to. Like, standing on something basically means they can't sync kill you. Now, that being said, their sync kill seems to be... Their sync kill only considers the horizontal aspect of it, really. So, if you are, like, directly above them, if you jump above them, they still have this tendency to sync kill you. But if you're standing on a rock that's both horizontally and vertically above them, they can't path to you, and they can't close that horizontal distance to you. I think some sort of, like... Something to just remember, like, Mother Courage is a reclamation, like, she's a recycler and reclamation unit, so something that would kind of fit that regards, right? Like, maybe she has, like, the ability to breathe fire to help her, like, meld things together or cycle things, or something like along, like, or acid or something along those lines. Like, there's definitely plenty of things you can do with Mother Courage to give her a ranged attack. As a recycler, right? Maybe she just throws cyborgs at you. I back, like, when I first started playing the game, right, too, I kind of just felt that Mother Courage was, like, almost like a tech necromancer, a technomancer, and she could, like, revitalize or resurrect dead cyborgs. And so, like, maybe that's her whole thing too, right? Maybe she doesn't actually kill you, like, she doesn't have a range attack, she just throws cyborgs at you. Throws crawlers at you. Oh man, imagine if she throws a crawler at you, and it, like, attaches to you and you have, like, a grapple check. It would probably be too obnoxious to do consistently, but that would be cool, right? Having like kind of this a Mother Courage throw a crawler at you and it like, you know, it grapples you and tries to like claw you. All right. Do. And or they could just do the Helldivers approach too, right? Like the way Helldivers solved a lot of their issues was they'll just usually have units come out of the ground. Like the Terminids will usually just like, if you're on a rock, they'll just start coming out of the rock. It will still like benefit you for doing so. It will slow them down, but they will like find their way up there. Yeah, but like blood at the same time, like what do you do if they die, right? And I think the other consideration too, right, is you need to program scenarios where like, is Mother Courage dumb enough where she is just going to like stand there and eat shots from a rock if she loses her retinue? Or is she like gonna go take cover or hide or just do something, right? Is it easier to give her a ranged attack where she can fight back with, or easier to program all the different nuances she has to do when you're standing on a rock? Oh yeah, her scream to call more from her cyborgs too, right, is great. But the cyborgs also have the issue, right, where they can't get on top of things. Yeah, it's also a cyborg issue, right? The cyborgs can't also deal with heights. I'm not about the thrall cyborgs, like the lower class cyborgs, but yeah, the ranged cyborgs do have that, but you don't usually see her, like, they don't get deployed dynamically, right? You don't see the ranged cyborgs get airdropped. I think the reason, Duffs, we don't see Toothy's mites right now are because they're figuring out how to get them to climb in a good way. And maybe that's like the tech they're going to apply to a lot of different things in the future, is the ability to climb or scale verticality. The mites being the first example of that, but like they're probably having issues with it, right? I imagine it's very complex. Well, complex to do in a smart way, right? One big aspect that they've talked about, right, at least in a few in their Q&As, is they don't want to have the issues of tech debt. They're trying their best to make sure the solutions they implement aren't going to be temporary ones, they're going to be permanent ones. Because naturally, I'm sure, like, the developers play Tarkov, right? They've kind of mentioned that was one of their inspirations, and I'm sure they've seen the issues Tarkov's had over, like, the span of 7 years, right? In regards to constantly having to rework old systems just because of tech debt. And they're trying to avoid that same fallacy. I could see traps being a thing for sure. It wouldn't make a lot of sense on a battlefield per se, but like indoor areas, traps being around. I can see water thieves using traps. That seems very on brand for water thieves. And smaller factions, like for example, the cultists and the water thieves using traps, 100%. I'm not really sure I would see big factions using traps, but ambushes, yes. Traps, probably not so much. Landmines, yes. I'm not sure if you could probably do landmines in a very interesting way, though, without them having to be obnoxious, but... like, it's a cool concept, but I'm not sure if landmines would ever be, like, interesting. We have now approached the fanfiction part of the chat wave. There's IEDs. I mean, those are kind of like mines, but
I mean, they function as prox mines, right? But that's only us, right? That's not anyone else. That's us making mines out of explosives. And once again, we're a small faction, right? Like it makes sense for us to have traps and ambushes, right? Hey, ODs. Any loot in here? Really? Is there nothing in here? There's one. I can definitely see minefields being a thing, right? But I'm not sure if they should be... Like, you could definitely have maybe areas where it's high risk, high reward. Like, the maps aren't big enough where I feel like you could have a meaningful minefield and not have it be obnoxious. Maybe, like, this map is an exception, maybe Asher Mesa is an exception, but, like, for the most part, so many maps just feel too small. Okay. So I have a good basis for you guys in regards to sizing. Because I was trying to think of ways, like, how do I appropriately kind of give you a way to scale yourself? For the most part, when you look at tanks, the tank's treads or track area should be slightly wider than your silhouette. And you can see right now that's not the case, right? If we go over to this tank over here, right, it's much more the case where the tank is about a little bit wider than we are, which is right? This is probably still maybe like 10% too small, but if you look at humans next to tanks, the tank treads for the most part should be a little bit wider than the person themselves for the most part. For a normally sized person, tank treads are a little bit wider than a person's like standing, you know, shoulder to shoulder, right? And so when you're looking at things in game, tank wise, take that into consideration that the tank's treads should be a little bit wider than you. And for a lot of tanks in the game, that's not the case. Also, hold on here. I've done this talk so many times before. Okay, hold on here. So we can assume, for example, that this tank is probably about like maybe 5 to 10% too small. And even best case scenario, let's say this is accurate, right? That this is a 120mm cannon. And I only mention this because I keep getting comments that say, those are 16-inch guns. They're not. I'm sorry. I know they look like 16-inch guns. They're not 16-inch guns. Yes, they look like that. The silhouette looks like large guns, but they're miniature. They're sized down. Oh, let's go back here. Actually, this is probably easier than going up there. Yes, it looks really massive. That back section doesn't need to be as big as it is for the size of gun. But if we go up to, if we look at the cannon here, right? That is not much bigger. It looks very similar to the bore size of the tank we were just at. A little bit bigger. And so 120mm guns are 4.7 inches. These guns here are not 16 inches. If you squint your eyes, they are maybe 8s. Maybe. But they are in the 5 to 6 inch range most likely. Especially considering that tank over there is still a little bit small in my opinion. Yeah, it could have autoloaders, right? Like, just when you look at stuff in the game, it's the main criticism with guns too, right? Do not take the guns and how they look at face value. That is fair, XMB. You could maybe have, for example, if it's firing for some reason, like a Sabo, right? Granted, usually the Sabo gets, if it's got a very large powder charge and it has a smaller diameter bullet shell. But no, like the bore size of the guns, for example, right, are not that size. Like they're not 12 and 16 inches. I'm sorry, they look like it. I trust me. it was my main issue too, making the video, is like I was looking at these cannons and like, this looks like a giant battleship gun, but it's not sized as such. It's the same thing with the cows, for example, right? The balloons. The balloons are too small for the cows. The tanks are too small. Everything has size issues. Hold on, we're going to Mausoleum now. I need to find the baby grabber on Mausoleum too. No, Blood Panda. 54R. Apparently there's a mini grabber, there's a dead corpse on Elephant Mausoleum of a mini grabber also that I need to go find. I'm gonna start a petition to take away, I don't know what the hotkey is for changing the scale of things in Unreal Engine. I need to go find that out. I need to start a petition to like have them unbind that. Take their rights away. No longer allowed to change the scale of things. In regards to going back to minefields though, I think, yeah, like I'm not against the concept of minefields. With the maps we have right now though, it feels like such a hard concept to do in a way where it's not obnoxious. Like you could definitely have them in Ashen Mesa. That giant field, for example, doesn't really impact you all that much. But there's not a lot of navigation on so many maps where like you could have a minefield, have it make sense, and have it be like engaging gameplay. All it would like, and I will say too, if the point of the minefield is to function like the water on, Frozen Swamp, then yeah, that works, right? Like, if their idea is using minefields as negative space, essentially areas where they don't need to include gameplay elements, that's fine. Yeah, that's perfectly fair, because that's what literally the water is. The water is basically, in a way, a minefield, right? On Frozen Swamp, and so if their consideration was that, then sure, that works. But if it's supposed to be actually engaged in a gameplay way, like having you actually traverse the minefield, But no, yeah, so case in point here, if you're unaware, giant exo. Giant exo on this map, it's literally just the exo scaled up. Just, you know, size hotkey. Yeah, there's definitely like, and I will say, Blood, on that note, I do want to see like dynamic events and stuff like that, and like, you know, explosions and stuff like that. But I would say like, if you're trying to make a minefield a gameplay element, it's almost something you would take into consideration when you're designing the map itself, right? Like if I thought a map was going to have minefields, I would design that into the map, right? Areas where that could be the case. And doesn't feel like there's a lot of maps right now that could actually facilitate those. Okay, so somewhere around here apparently, there's supposed to be like apparently a mini grabber. I mean, Sid, they're chilling, right? But at the same time, there's always this risk, right? If I let them chill for too long, they might murder me. It's defense through being proactive and murdering everything. Is it you right here? No, where are you? So this small grabber apparently is, I'm not sure. Someone said it spawns on Elephant Mausoleum for sure, on night shift. I wonder if it spawns on day shift too. It's a prop, right? So it probably should be on day shift also. But it's like a miniature grabber. That's probably not over here. Might be over here in this junkyard. Hello. Where might you be? Alright, well, good talk. And as you can see too, right, they are adding more stuff to this map also. You can see, like, since this map came out, they have been adding more and more of these, like, kind of terrain pieces here around there. Little untextured walls. I hear minefield sounds. 5800X and a 3080. I will say, if you get choppiness, if you have an NVIDIA card, increase your shader cache size. If it's like, if you're not getting like low FPS, but you're getting choppy gameplay, that could be your game having to redo shaders. And this will be a bigger thing in the coming, honestly, years as more games use Unreal Engine 5 and kind of crutch on shaders. Is that when you play a lot of games that use Unreal Engine 5, you start needing a lot more shader space than they actually give you. So like, if you have an NVIDIA card, go to your control panel, look at shader cache size. The default, I believe, is 10 gigs, up to 100 at the least. Essentially, what you're probably experiencing with an NVIDIA card is that your game's having to redo the shader cache when you're in the game, which naturally tanks the fuck out of performance. All right, I looked around a bit now. I haven't found it yet. I'll look for it off stream, I guess, because maybe it's only on night shift too. An Easter egg on night shift. Hey, leave me alone. But for those unaware, like, apparently it's a small sized grabber. It's like half the size of a normal grabber. And we could say that just means there's baby grabbers, right? Also, where's the tree? Tree. Could just mean baby grabber, right? But I'm much more inclined to believe it's just them being cavalier with the scale button. Because, like, I mean, here's the thing, right? You can have grabbers that grow, but it kind of alludes to them molting, and I'm not sure how that would work. So, like, because of Euruska having so many different units with a carapace, like a crab, like, those creatures have to molt, and they have to shed their old skin to grow. Are we saying that the grabbers can grow their own armor or carapace, or that they need to have help molting, or that they molt in the first place? Which is kind of what a baby grabber would feel like it alludes to. It's a Christian. The game, technically speaking, it's always has ray tracing on. It uses a lighting feature called Lumen, and Lumen technically, basically, it in a way means that the game is ray traced. But at the same time, like, it's a trade-off, right? The reason why they likely use Lumen is that Lumen saves them a lot of time in regards to lighting a game, right? If they didn't use Lumen, we wouldn't get the maps we get at the pace we get, and they wouldn't look as good. And so it's a trade-off. It sucks because if they chose the other method, it would probably lower the performance by a lot. Or sorry, increase performance by a lot for a lot of people. But it's just a trade-off, right? And they probably just showed, right, with their smaller team, right, this is something they have to consider. Yeah, I mess with Unreal, like, yeah, there's a few ways of, like, turning it off and on. I didn't mess with it. Yeah, the FPS doesn't change a lot on the other maps. And it doesn't look very good either. Granted, they weren't developed to, you know, not have Lumen on, but... But no, like, if you... For those looking for a free cam, there's a program called Unreal Engine Unlocker. It is behind a paywall, someone developed it, so naturally, yeah, I'm not providing it for free because, you know, they developed it, they deserve money for it. It's not very expensive though, and he offers a bunch of different, you know, camera softwares for a lot of different programs and games. But essentially, it will allow you to have a very granular control of your game in regards to lighting. So you can turn lumen off, you can change different lighting settings, you can do whatever you want with it, right? It also gives you the ability to pause the game in free cam. So if you want a photo mode, that's essentially how you get photo mode right now. Also, North, thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, working on a video, like, unfortunately, it's probably gonna be like, man, I am trying to get it done. It's twofold, right? I want to get it done as quickly as possible, but I also don't want to rush it, and I'm also, like, trying out new things. Next video is going to be a long one, and that means I don't really have a basis of how long it's going to take me. If I was to guesstimate, I want to say 2 weeks from now, but that might be me being too optimistic too. Oh. No. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No? Oh, yeah, no. Usually you hear him a lot sooner than that, because you usually get pretty angry at some guys. Yeah, but there's always the element too, right, where like, at some point you just have to release something. If I was like, if my standards was perfect, I would never get anything done. And that's usually like my favorite thing too about like watching myself is that like, I will start out with like the highest standards and like through time I will just like have those standards get lowered and lowered. It's like, yeah, we're gonna make the best video ever. It's gonna take me like 5 million years to make, and then like, yeah, maybe we cut back here and there. Let's be a bit more realistic. And then eventually just get the fucking video out. I wanna be done with it. Yeah, alright. I want to be a cowboy. The R8 actually does have like a very good headshot multiplier now. So it does some serious damage if you land your headshots. If you want to be a cowboy, it's probably the best it's ever been. I can fix that, right? Hold on, let me go talk to... Girl, oh baby, I'm sorry. Oh, you don't even hate me that much. Yeah, 2Th's got a lot of moving parts, man. 2Th's got a lot going on. It is lots of geometry. All right, let's be a cowboy.
I hate the surface.
We need like just like High Noon playing in the background. Looking like High Noon. Hello, you. I believe this will one-shot anything except for heavy infantry again for Uruska. I believe this will one-shot you. Yeah. So like the elite soldier is a bit harder to headshot. You usually will not be able to kill this with an AK, RPK, or M4. So like this being able to one-shot elite is actually a pretty big deal. It actually gives a pretty solid use case now, being like a one-shot revolver. The 45 I think can do the same thing, maybe not to elites. I missed.
Taking fire.
I wonder if we'll ever get a lever action. Granted, it makes the least amount of sense to have a lever action, but I would say, like, at the same time, for a scav gun, so like a homemade gun, maybe you don't see a scenario where, like, if there's certain criteria for factions, right, where one of the drawbacks to scav guns is that they're never fully automatic, and very rarely are they semi-automatic, maybe a lever action could be a way they could have a gun where it actually functions at least somewhat semi-auto. Like, it would be faster than bolt, right? Not by much, but a little bit.
You got some sort of plan?
Essentially what I'm saying is, like, the scav's making a homebrew, like, lever action, essentially. I am missing terribly. No one look at basically... Hold on. Downside, though, once again, with guns with really slow reloads, be very careful. Once you're in the animation currently, you are stuck. So guns with long reloads are a bit of a liability right now. I'm gonna probably murder these guys, actually. I don't want to deal with snipers. Just never gonna let snipers live. I will say, I do like how they moved. So before the aggro was all squad-based, you wouldn't really see instances of other squads aggroing. But I do like how they kind of change it to proximity now, so even if they're not classified as being in the same squad, they will still aggro if you shoot a unit next to them. Which just makes a lot more sense to me. Alright, let's get out of here real quick. Don't mind the positive effects. I love this kind of server room vibe. I want to see more of this in the future. Like, the fact that we only see one of these thus far, it's kind of small too. I want to see a lot more of these. It kind of has a really cool aesthetic to it. What the hell are you? I think you're you? It could be either of these, considering how distorted it is. Yeah, we got it. Ah, yes. Time is frozen. I would say, I am like... If you approach this map from like a top-down viewpoint, and like how much stuff it has on it, It really feels like this map is like missing an entire layer or two of verticality, right? Like we have all of these cool different areas and pipes around, but like it's a trench that has no verticality. Sherman for sure, like they've been doing a good job increasing performance every single patch. This patch has done a good job of doing it for a lot of people. If you had issues with, like, say for example, if you're like 30, 40 before, you should see an uplift. But like if you were like having terrible issues before, you'll probably still have issues now. Essentially, if you were mediocre before, you're probably now much more playable. But if you were awful, it's probably not improved enough. Cyborg check. They don't make sounds anymore, Blood Panda. Thanks, Sherman. Appreciate it. Keep in mind, like, remember, my videos, all my deep dives are like half of what you know and then half speculation, right? Because once again, if they're approaching the whole like lore aspect as of a show don't tell, naturally we have to like interpret, right? We can't really just say what the truth is because we don't know what the truth is. All right. Yeah, I try to keep it high level for the most part, right? That's a good question, Max. We haven't seen all the cows yet. Let's go over to Scorched Enclave to try to see some cows. Let's pop over our SVD. Actually, let's go a bit bigger. We've been staying away from the big guns this stream. Let's change that real quick. Hello, you. All right, so we're looking for a few quests here. That can be one of them. Yeah, like there's different ways you can approach kind of how you tell the lore, but I think they're doing what they're doing so far I think is a perfectly fine approach. Naturally people probably want more, but that's always a good issue to have, right? Have the drip feed. There's plenty of areas right now that are very vague that we know nothing about, like Australia. What the hell is going on in the outback? Come on. Yeah, the downside of big boy guns though is it usually means like insta HKs, and they're usually very scary ones. I'm looking for the Toothy quest, please. Come on. Come on, I know you can do it. It shouldn't be this hard. Come on. Come on. Give it to me. You're giving me the wrong quests. Is Toothy gone or something? There we go. Oh my god. We did it. And there's always the aspect of lore too, right? Where if you keep it vague, people can fit the lore to their own headcanon. Where if you're more descriptive, you might have people upset. I did not choose a spawn.
I hate the surface.
People upset in regards to like the exact lore you chose. Well, I didn't spawn in the right area, which makes me very kind of scared. I think it's time to go get my rock despite all this. Is that a gotcha container? Oh, just a rock. I mean, this is kind of safe, right? I don't feel safe at all, actually. What the hell is going on? Ooh, can I get up here, actually? Stop popping smoke. Ooh, I can. Not very well, though, apparently. New sniping spot. This is definitely not exposed. Commander, right? Yeah. Am I just having, like, spread issues? Gabe. There we go. We solved it. Are you looking at me? Hello. just fucking. That seemed like so, like just like passive, like not passive aggressive. What's the right word for it? Like so kid-like. Just like walks up to the tank and just kicks it out of spite. The tank's still alive. There it goes, okay. I imagine Pyro is probably dead. The Stalemate? Well, I was sniping frog beds. Also looking out for cows, but I killed Toothy's little, I guess, Protect E. I'm looking for Pyro now, but Pyro's probably already dead. I think our spawn extract's over here now, which is very unfortunate. I never use the spawn point, so... All right. Okay. It's still, oh, there it goes. It's gone. No, leave me alone. Why are you coming over here? Leave my tower alone. Wait. I've been trying to get on Toothy for so long now. Well, everything's dead now. Alright, well. Down we go. Ooh, grenadier. That I can't get to. I'm being taunted. There we go. Alright, let's try not to die as we fall down. I'm scared. Let's try this side instead. Alright, that hurt a little bit. Alright, so apparently we have HKs now, which is not very good because 20mm seem to attract a lot of bad HKs. So we're looking for Pyro. I'm actually kind of scared now. I don't hear... I'm going for my rock. Oh, it's this guy. We're fine. Who's a little HK? Really? Not even sound effects? Who would win? Super Soldier of the Future or a ledge? This is why they're unkillable. Because they get countered by rock. Alright, well, you have a fun time there, Ogremek. I'm leaving. I believe our extract is gonna be over here at the bunker for this spawn, if I recall correctly. Basically. Might need to turn HUD on for this. I think it's very hard to see these without having the HUD on. Yeah, HUD on for a second. Yeah, it's right there, okay. So we're gonna turn this on and we're gonna run. Because defending this is suicidal. And we do not need to be close to it for it to actually work. Yeah, like the cover there and the spawns around you just make it just no bueno. So just activate it and run. And after some time, I'm assuming it'll be done, which we can head back. Did we actually hit it? Did I not hit it? Or is it just not showing me the countdown? Oh, we should be closer, okay.
Never do that again. Until the next time.
And we lived. This didn't really do anything. Well, we got one done. We killed the guy, the commander. Pyro just ends up dying so often. Let's run it back, actually. Not run it back. Let's do Ashen Mesa. Another map we can see cows on. We get payback. And let's also get up the high Navcom, perhaps. I could pick up this. The only problem is these two quests kind of fight against each other. If you have both of them, there's an actual real chance they kill each other. We've seen it happen. There we go. And so we probably want a bit more 40mm, I imagine. 80 should be actually plenty. How are we on meds? We're fine on meds. So yeah, we're good. Alright, HUD off. So yeah, Exito, in this patch right now, they've added a few extra damage states to the medium mech, and so it can lose its arms now, and then by extension lose its gun. It's kind of over-tuned right now because it's really easy to strip the parts off medium mechs with just conventional firearms. Maybe they're still missing armor or something, but like right now you can just, with an RPK, like strip the entirety of a medium mech off to the point where it can only melee. So it just seems kind of like a work in progress right now. Yeah, you can kill medium mechs, but like even before that too, right? You can like essentially pick off the components of the medium mech now also. Oh, Goldbrick's there. Sniping fight. Let me get some cover first because he hurts. He hurts real bad. If you are a lower scav, he can where did you go? He can one-shot you. Did he despawn? Where the hell did you go? You were just I just pinged you. You can't do this to me. I was so excited to kill you. He's just hiding? What the hell did he go? Let's go higher. Goldbrick? I'm not crazy, right? He was just here, right? What the hell? There's nothing over there that can kill him. We need to go higher. This might not work out well considering we are not fast. I feel like I'm being gaslit by the game right now. Goldbrick? He's not there anymore. Did he despawn? Did he die? I would see a container if he died. What the fuck happened to him? Huh. Well, I just got punked basically. Oh, also, here you go. Look at it go. This little guy swimming. You have two more slow-ass cows behind him. Only three? Only three, I guess. Maybe Goldberg saw the cows and got scared. That poor Merkava. That one is actually going pretty quick. The goddamn balloon is too small. Yes, yes, he caught the jet stream. Hey, Nomad. An absolute abomination. I guess it's some factory, who knows? I have an entire video on it. They spit the developers. Okay, developers are artists, right? Remember this game's mainly artist driven, and artists. You know what artists hate? They hate physics and science, and so the cows are them away. The cows are them spitting in science's face and spitting in Isaac Newton's face, just like the goddamn tanks. Look at this. The developers hate physics. We have rubber band tanks apparently. It's now canon. The developers hate physics. Oh no, I mean, no, man, it's been the quest has been an issue for a while now. I wouldn't say it's a new issue. It's been an issue for like since the game came out. When the game has the tagline of "You're not that guy" and all of the quests point you into the whole thing of "You're that guy," there is a little bit of an issue. You know, the one time I pick up high Navcom and there's no chopper, hashtag conspiracy. It's happy to kill me when I don't have the quest, but when I have the quest, it's gone now. Yeah, no, but like, yeah, the quests are like very just, they feel like Tarkov quests, right? And even Tarkov quests are only one and dones too, right? No, yeah, for sure. I mean, the quests are definitely like due for a refactor, right? At some point. I think they're just kind of, much like the guns to some extent, they do just feel like placeholders to get the game out in early access, right? Very quarter-baked. Oh yeah, it's part, but it's part of the new like respawn mechanic. They're still fleshing it out, but this is like V.001, where like now cyborgs will respawn from the bombers, you know, dropping them as opposed to just respawning out of the ground. They technically still respawn out of the ground, but it does help ground the reason why they're spawning. And like right now, because we're missing logistical vehicles for so many units right now, or so many factions right now, until we see those, we probably won't see dynamic respawns for anything else. It's one of the reasons why I was hopeful for like seeing new units this patch, is because if they're trying to push dynamic respawns, there's not really a lot of ways of doing that right now with the lack of logistical vehicles for factions. Like, we don't have APCs, we don't have choppers for other factions, we don't have just really any way for them to get onto the battlefield from outside of the map, outside of just spawning. Yeah, no, man, like, yeah, for sure. Like, there's so many different ways of them, like, refactoring the quest lines, basically. Oh, I mean, for sure, right? The ground here is definitely probably radioactive to some degree. Like, there's probably so much background radiation right now, it just, you know, it is what it is. All the metal here is probably radioactive too. Or contaminated, rather. The whole world's just radioactive now. It's got like this is just like a constant Geiger counter. Frog pants, mainly probably because we don't see them yet. Like, they're not, or rather, like, they probably have them planned, we just don't have them in the game. Yeah, I don't mind the fact they got rid of prone, for example, or don't have prone in the game. It's pretty niche, and like, as I think Jeff said, right, they're never gonna have the level of granularity like of stealth, like Metal Gear Solid or like Thief. Like, considering having prone would mean you would need like a whole new set of like animations for each character, along with like how rigs interact with prone and so on and so forth. Like, I'm perfectly fine just prone being a cost of having a small indie game, right? I'd rather have other things than prone. I mean, Nomad, on that note, that's kind of why I've always wanted them to move away from the IRL timer and just have time progression in game. Like, you know, days, you know, just like one day raid, one night raid is a day. And have that be the prime driver for things like quest resets and vendor resets and so on and so forth. Having the whole IRL timer just feels very out of place. It also feels just anti-casual too. But no, but that's also a little pop a benefit though, right? Because imagine if like you can just pretend you're a box on the ground. You go prone with your rig in front of you. Like, say for example, you're like a turtle, right? You're literally a turtle. Say for example, if we could go prone, right? Imagine we can just do this, right? We go hide in a corner and we just go crouch. Oh man, are we some scavenger, or are we just a box, or are we just a container? And that would just be prone, right? Just like you go prone and like use your container, your giant backpack as camouflage. We're not some scavenger, we're just a box. Essentially Hermit Crab DLC. Exactly. Are you? There we go. You don't feel like you're in the right spot. I feel like you're supposed to be back this way, but whatever. Anything good? Oh boy, my favorite gun. But that's why we have our box be like, we change out to a different rig, Little Pop. We change out to a blocker rig that blocks those signals. And so we just appear as a box. Camo box. Alright. Let's do a cemetery. Let's go over to Scav Girl to make it scary. Let's pick up a John to make it not scary again. And quests. No, that's just a pretty good summary, Nomad, right? It's a lot of foundational work. So like the one thing I'm definitely excited for to see in the future is like their first iteration of progression and like more late game things. Hey, Nerf. Like I am very curious how they're going to kind of approach the whole issue with extraction shooters and replayability, and I'm just generally very interested in how they're going to approach the issue of late game. Because I would argue that late game has always been an issue in extraction shooters, that none of them have really tackled all that well, at least to my knowledge. Like, I don't think
on the cutting room floor.
Tarkov definitely hasn't handled late game well, in my opinion. I will say, I love the new ambient sound to this map, though. It honestly feels like there's almost like a whale down here. Right, the book is not there. God, the verticality is so cool. I know we're not supposed to be here. Like I can't emphasize. I know I do this all the fucking time, but it's still so cool. It's such an and that's why I get giddy about them experimenting with things that are not just pure extraction shooter, because the blending of elements just seems really cool, right? And just like there can be so much room to explore there. It doesn't have to be a platformer, but it can have platforming elements. It doesn't have to be a roguelike, but it can have roguelike elements. It doesn't have to be an extraction shooter, but it can have extraction shooter elements. Like, remember, like, okay, I'm not gonna compare this game to League, but I am about to compare it a little bit to League, right? Remember, games like Dota and League, right, didn't come from, like, necessarily the birthplace of the MOBA, right, didn't come from just someone's unique idea. It came from people blending together a lot of elements of different games into one. Yeah, it's less about League, I mean, but about MOBAs in general, right? The genre of MOBA, right? And it became like one of the most popular genres of all time, right? It still is to this day, right? And so there's a lot of merit in taking certain aspects of different games or just genres and putting them in a blender and seeing what sticks. That's literally the entire MOBA genre. Well, the key thing there is I know that that dog can't go through that door, so it's fine. Yeah, exactly. It's a blending of the genres. And like, there's a lot of successful things that come from blending genres together, taking the best of things, right? And it's, I mean, I'm not, okay. We're going this, I'm taking the conversation this route. There is a lot of merit, as we see in nature too, where things in their purest state get corrupted by trying to stay pure, and that by mixing things together, they make up for the deficits of things trying to stay too pure. So for example, right, a lot of the issues you'll usually see in, say, purebred dogs typically go away or diminish when you start having mutts and mixing them. It's when you start focusing on trying to keep the breed pure is when you start seeing health defects pop into effect for certain, like, dogs, right? For example, golden retrievers are very, very prone to having hip dysplasia. Some dogs, some pure breeds are very exposed to having bladder issues. Like, and that's because that's mainly because they're trying to be kept pure, and these recessive traits are promoted over and over again. And to some extent, by trying to keep a genre of a game pure and trying to create, you know, something that's definitively in the bounds of a certain genre, you kind of promote that recessive gene, right? Because you don't give yourself a way of alleviating it. Yeah, or for example, how you end up with a pug. I'm sorry if you like pugs, but like, that poor thing's been bred into being literally just like, I can't imagine this. Like, if pugs were any more intelligent, I feel like they would say that they're suffering. Granted, I will say there has been like a tendency now to actually breed healthier pugs and give them their snout back, which I'm very happy for. Like, they need to have their snout. I don't know. I mean, the grabber is probably more like horse and human than anything else, I imagine. It's like a horse, a cat, a dog, and a human mixed together.
Remember,
I always figured like a lot of their inspiration, right, was much more around DayZ. And like, I always think that BSG tripped and fell into their game, right? Because they're like, a lot of their inspiration was the open world, right? But they realized that they couldn't do an open world at first. And so they started with smaller maps, like Stalker 1 did. Like Stalker 1 kind of had open world before open world existed to some degree, because you didn't have the tech depth of true open world. And then, you know, BSG did the same things, basically the thing, right? Where they had kind of smaller maps. But like Nikita's always said, right, he wants all of those maps combined into an actual open world. They'll never get there probably, but it's always been their set intent. And I forgot the book, oh well. I don't know. Stalker 2 has its issues. It'd be more interesting too, but Little Pop at the exact point, right, where it's just hard to combine all these maps together. And I think that was their point, Little Papa too, right? Is they tried to do that really early off, but the tech wasn't there and the performance wasn't there, so they kind of had to scrap that idea. But I remember, like, I think Scrapyard, Mech, and Elephant were all one map at one point, and they had to scrap them being their all one map because the performance was terrible. So having like the multi-raid approach is a fine compromise, I think. And consistent or persistence, right? Where, say for example, if you're doing like a multi-raid, say for example, if we go from the innards to Stairway to like Shanty to downtown, and then perhaps back, like that would be interesting. Naturally, there probably needs to be camps here and there between these, because this is a casual game and it needs like areas where you can log off, take breaks, and come back to it later. But no, like as a concept, right, multi-raid kind of works here. All right, what map? We haven't done Mausoleum, we haven't done Frozen Swamp, and we kind of did. Well, let's do a scrapyard. Let's go aggro. Yeah, they've been constantly dealing with it, trying to make Streets work. Don't get me wrong, Streets is cool and it kind of does work, don't get me wrong, but like, is the amount of effort they put into it worth having Streets? I do think Streets is a really cool map though. And and to be fair too, I also don't think BSG, for example, are like the cutting edge developers. They've always kind of been learning as they go. And like constantly updating their like, they're much like Star Citizen, right? They're the kings of scope creep. And if I feel like Streets was partially that, but it was also partially from poor planning on their side. I definitely feel like they probably could have done a better job if they didn't constantly have to change certain engine things, like changing to... How many times has BSG updated their version of Unity, right? It's got to be like 4 or 5 times now, right? They've upgraded the version of Unity, which requires them to do a lot more work. And only 2 times? Really? Only 2? It feels like way more than that. Maybe because it's like, it takes them forever to do it is why I'm thinking it took us so long. And then like, during those they broke sound and like things broke and they'd fix them and like... They essentially create problems for themselves, right? Oh, a little pop-up. I'm sure it's definitely something, right, where you probably need Epic to help you out. And naturally, Epic's only going to help you out if you make enough money. Yeah, like, on that aspect, it's Unity's fault, but it's also on, like, it's definitely on BSG, though, for having a game 10 years in development, right? Like, it's almost at that point using the wrong tool for the job. Like, naturally, BSG would never be able to make their own engine, especially starting out. But at the same time, how slow they've been developing their game kind of warrants it. Because naturally, like, Unity's not gonna stop for you, right? Or only make their engine for your game. I think they've always known their code is shit, right? Like, and I think everyone knows their code's always been shit, right? Because, like, keep in mind, right? Their code being mediocre, right? The networking code being awful and client-side authoritative has been like the basis for so many of the cheats in the game, right? There we go. Yeah, it's just like kind of Psycho, just realizing that, like, it's a scope thing, right? It's a project planning thing going into creating your game, of realizing what you want to do and finding the right tool for the job. It's almost like, I know it's fun to go in and prototype and, like, build things and play around with it too, but, like, that might keep you constrained mentally where you probably need to take the project, because, like, the problem's always been with these games, like these very, you know, games that want to reach out to, like, new heights, is they start out very small, and then, like, they get these grand ideas mid-development, and then realize that the tools they have do not suit that grand design. Like, for example, Star Citizen's guilty of it too, right? Star Citizen does, like, all this shit in regards to, like, realizing that, oh shit, this thing we now want in the game no longer has, like, fits the tools that we need, so now we need to retool our game. And retooling always takes time and money. Yeah, exactly. It's just basically poor project planning. And, like, naturally, when you're a game developer, right, in your small studio, you're not gonna have a PM. And keep in mind, I am not the biggest fan of PMs either. They're usually not worth their weight, but, like, it's more about the concept of PM as opposed to anything else. Leave me alone, I'm sorry. But yeah, it's essentially just feature creep, right? Okay, Painless is God. But no, like, essentially the TLDR, what I'm saying is, right, is, like, it's important to have an idea what your game wants to be and making sure you pick the right tool for the job. So, for example, my big example of this being Supreme Commander, right? Supreme Commander did something like a lot of games back then couldn't do. It had the ability to have, like, 1,000 units on screen battling, right? Something, if you think back to the day it came out, is, like, actually kind of fucking insane. But because they realized that's the game they wanted to make, they realized there was no tool out there for them to use to make the game they wanted to make, right? And so they developed their own engine for the game they wanted to make. Naturally, that's going to have its own downsides, right? Like, it's going to be very hand-tailored to that particular game, and, like, it's going to require development work and money, and you won't see a return until you actually develop the game for it. But, like, for a game like that, right, it was necessary. You had to actually go out and spend time tooling up your game for development as opposed to just developing the game right off the rip. And it's all engine work, right? It's like you don't need, like, your gameplay designers and your gameplay and your unit makers and stuff like that, they're all waiting for that tool to be made. Or maybe they're doing stuff in third-party engines they can convert over later. And at that point, you're like, okay, so say for example, like, okay, we're gonna be tooling up this engine for a bit, but we have to make sure it can take Blender files in because we know our artists are gonna be doing their work in Blender while we're doing this work on the engine. And so like that's something that needs to come out during the the planning phase, right? Is like when we're tooling up this new engine for this tooling, we have to make sure it takes XYZ files, right? Otherwise, it's useless to us, or we can't work in parallel. Oh, don't get me started on sub. What Square Enix has done to Subcom is like why I just will never play a Square Enix game. That and their whole fucking greedy ass like just play style too. Like their Square Enix is, if you like if you like their games, it's fine. I don't mind. If you like Final Fantasy, I don't give a shit. Like, but like their practices, especially with Iron Mace, for example, just yeah, Square Enix can rot in a hole. Yeah, they are just like, they are the EA of Korea. They are just greedy, money grabbing, just suits, and utterly corrupt, and have like mothballed so many cool, interesting IPs because naturally they're just too shit at developing to make cool games. And like, it honestly feels like they're too spiteful to let go of IPs, so they'd rather just mothball the IPs and let them actually like sell them off. And like, I'm not saying Dark and Darker is a great game anyway, because Dark and Darker has its own issues, but like the fact they tried to like destroy Iron Mace that way through litigation, so shitty. Yeah, I think no, that's the thing too, right? Like, you have to keep in consideration when you're like developing the game too. Like, oh, hey, maybe we shouldn't trust the client. Never trust the client. The client will lie to you. It kind of just you like, it's just an approach you have to take, right? Where you just you have to assume the actor is going to be bad. But in a game like this, right, they don't have, like, it's why them not having PvP is such a big factor, is they do not have to care about trusting the client or not and having developing their game for the client or not. Naturally, it has peer-to-peer implications, right? But for the most part, the player can, tailor their experience to themselves, right? They don't have to care about making the client play honest. If they want to cheat, that's their prerogative, right? It's a PvE game. Yeah, I think that's mainly Nomad too, just on having someone whose like sole purpose is spent on the engine side and like performance side as opposed to game development, right? Like they're mainly the technical person working on the engine, and having one of those is not always a luxury you can have as a developer for an indie game. But all right, that's it for today, everyone. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys on Wednesday. New video in the works. As I said before, it's a long one. It's going to take me a while. I'm only probably about halfway done with the script. And it's going to take me some time to edit too. So probably like maybe not till mid-April. I'm hoping to get it out sooner than that, but we'll see. And I will see you guys Wednesday. Have a fun time. Maybe patch this week. We'll see. Take it easy, and I will see you guys later. Bye.